The story unfolds on a bright and scorching afternoon in Ouagadougou, the bustling capital of Burkina Faso. A prominent leader, President Ibrahim Traoré, had just completed an unannounced visit to a local educational institution. His convoy waited quietly at the curb, engines humming softly, when something unexpected caught his attention. By the side of the road, leaning helplessly against a cracked and dusty wall, sat a man holding out a tin cup. His clothes were tattered and stained, his hair peppered with uneven grey patches, and his sunken eyes reflected the heavy burden of years spent enduring hardship. Passers-by ignored him completely, as if he were merely part of the pavement itself. Ibrahim's brow furrowed in confusion and recognition. The man looked oddly familiar. He ordered his security detail to wait, his tone firm and unyielding. The man raised his head, squinting against the glaring sunlight, his lips parting in disbelief. "Ibrahim," he whispered, in a cracked voice. The leader's chest tightened. "Musa," he responded, stepping closer to study the gaunt and fragile face. This was indeed Musa, once vibrant and full of life, now barely more than a shadow of his former self. Musa attempted to stand, his knees trembling under the effort. "Is it really you?" he whispered, barely able to believe what he saw. "It is me," Ibrahim assured him, firmly gripping his shoulder. "What has happened to you?" Tears welled in Musa's eyes but were quickly wiped away. "It's a long story, one I never expected to share with you like this," Musa replied. "Come with me, let's talk." Musa glanced down at his bare feet, hesitating. "I can't. Not like this," he murmured. "I'm not fit to enter your car." Ibrahim looked at him with unwavering resolve. "You're my companion, that's what matters," he said, leaving no room for refusal. Minutes later, Musa found himself in the presidential residence. He bathed, changed into clean clothes, and sat before steaming dishes of food. He ate cautiously, as though the meal might disappear at any moment. Between bites, his eyes flickered between gratitude and deep shame. Once the plates were cleared, Ibrahim poured 2 glasses of juice and sat down across from him. "Now," he said gently, "tell me, you were one of the brightest men I knew. What happened?" Musa sighed heavily, staring into his glass. "It began 3 years ago," he started. He spoke of his life as a respected principal at an educational institution in Bobo Dioulasso, explaining how he had built a modest residence from his hard-earned savings and married a woman named Stella. At first, they were happy, or so he thought. But Stella grew distant, constantly attached to her phone and quick to lash out over trivial matters. Musa believed it was just stress and ignored the warning signs. Then one afternoon, he came home early and discovered her in their bed with another man. Ibrahim's jaw tightened as Musa's voice faltered. "What did you do?" asked quietly. "I walked away," Musa answered in a whisper. "I couldn't fight. I was shaking." And she never apologized. Instead, Stella confronted him outside and declared it was over. She told him to leave the residence they had built because she loved the other man now. "Leave the house you built?" Ibrahim repeated angrily. "Yes," Musa said bitterly. "I refused. She took me to court, lied that she paid for it, even forged documents. The judge believed her, and I was evicted." "And your job?" Ibrahim pressed. "I lost that too," Musa replied. "All my savings were spent on lawyers. Soon I had nothing. No home, no work, no dignity. I stayed with a friend for a while, but shame consumed me. Eventually I left that place and ended up under bridges, begging for scraps, eating once a day, if I was lucky. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her laughing with the other man." Tears slipped down his cheeks as his head bowed in sorrow. "I became a shadow," he admitted quietly. "I wanted to die, Ibrahim. I truly wanted to die." The leader rose from his chair, his voice steady but filled with warmth. "Musa, you didn't deserve a single thing of that, but I promise you, your story will change." Musa slowly lifted his head and met Ibrahim's gaze. "You still call me your friend, even after seeing me like this?" Ibrahim's eyes softened. "I never stopped." That night, Musa slept soundly for the first time in years. Meanwhile, Ibrahim sat in his office surrounded by untouched papers, his thoughts fixed on the young man who had once stood beside him at school, sharing books, defending him from bullies, and encouraging him to dream. Firmly gripping his pen, Ibrahim resolved, "I will give him a fresh start." The next morning, Musa awoke to the smell of warm bread and fried eggs. The soft bed, the clean sheets and neatly folded clothes felt like a dream compared to the cold pavement he had known only hours before. A gentle knock sounded at the door. "Come in," he said. A staff member entered with a tray. "Good morning, sir. The leader asked me to serve you." Musa sat up, stunned. "Thank you, truly." As he ate, the thought kept running through his mind. Yesterday, he was a beggar. Today, a guest in the presidential residence. What would tomorrow bring? Later, in the garden, Ibrahim greeted him in simple clothing, his demeanor calm yet commanding. "Musa, your story broke my heart," he said quietly. "I didn't mean to bring trouble into your house," Musa murmured. "You didn't bring trouble," Ibrahim replied. "You brought truth. And truth must lead to action." "Action?" Musa asked, uncertain. "I've made the arrangements," Ibrahim said. "This morning, you'll see a doctor. After that, there's somewhere I want to take you." By afternoon, Musa had been thoroughly examined, prescribed medication, and given his first haircut in years. The man who looked back at him in the mirror no longer resembled the broken figure from the roadside. There was now a faint spark in his eyes. Ibrahim drove him to the edge of the city, stopping in front of a modest cream and brown residence with a neatly tended garden. "It's beautiful," Musa said quietly, his voice faltering. "Whose is it?" "It's yours," Ibrahim smiled. Musa was overwhelmed. "This is too much." "It's fully paid for, and no one will ever take it from you," Ibrahim assured him. "Why would you do this for me?" Musa whispered. "Because I remember who you are," Ibrahim said, his eyes glistening. "You gave me books when I had none. You defended me when I was alone. You believed in me before I believed in myself." Musa shook his head, overcome with emotion. "I only did what friends do." "And now," Ibrahim said, placing a firm hand on Musa's shoulder, "I'm doing the same." Inside, the residence was warm and inviting. A cozy living room, a clean kitchen, a bright bedroom, and even a small office with a desk and bookshelf. Ibrahim added, "I've also opened a bookshop and school supply store for you. It's next to a secondary educational institution. You'll run it, and I'll cover the first year's expenses. I know your love for education. Let's put it to good use." Trembling, Musa shed tears not from pain, but from hope. Over the next few weeks, his life transformed dramatically. He managed the store with discipline and care. Students visited daily for pens, notebooks, and textbooks, some lingering to ask questions about their studies. Musa never turned anyone away. "You can't just memorize," he told one boy, pointing at a math problem. "Understand the steps, and the answer will come." Word spread quickly. The community began greeting him once again, not as a beggar, but as Mr. Musa, a man who had risen from the depths. One Saturday afternoon, while arranging books, he heard a soft voice behind him. Musa turned sharply, nearly dropping a book. Standing in the doorway was Stella, his ex-wife. Her face was pale, her clothes plain and worn, her jewelry gone. Beside her lay a small suitcase. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly. "Outside the store," Musa replied, folding his arms. "What do you want, Stella?" Tears filled her eyes. "I have nowhere to go," she said. "He left me. The man I chose over you sold our residence, emptied my account, and left me for another woman. I lost everything." Musa breathed deeply. "I'm sorry for what happened," she whispered. "And I'm asking if I can stay just for a while." He looked at her long and hard, This was the woman who had once walked away without a second thought. "Stella," he said calmly, "I forgave you long ago, but I've moved on. My life is peaceful now. You chose your road, and I've chosen mine." Her head dropped in shame. "Please, just a room." "I wish you well," Musa replied steadily, "but this is not your home." Without another word, he turned and walked back into the store, his heart pounding. That night, Musa called Ibrahim. "She came back," I told her. "No," he said. Ibrahim's warm smile could be heard over the phone. "I'm proud of you." "You didn't just give me a residence and a business," Musa said. "You gave me back my dignity." Life settled into a quiet rhythm. The store flourished, and Musa greeted every student and teacher warmly, becoming more than a shopkeeper. He was a mentor, a listener, almost a father figure to many. One Friday morning, while arranging pens on the counter, the bell above the door rang. A woman in a simple blue dress entered, her smile warm and her eyes bright. "Good morning," she said. "Do you have senior school math textbooks?" "Yes," Musa replied. "Come with me." She followed him to the shelves, selected what she needed, and returned to the counter. "I've seen you before," she said. "You help children who can't afford supplies. They remind me of who I used to be." Musa smiled warmly. "I'm Grace," she introduced herself. "I teach at the nearby secondary educational institution." He shook her hand. "Musa, I own the store." Her eyebrows lifted. "That's wonderful. This place feels so welcoming. We need more people like you." Musa's heart quickened. It had been a long time since he had spoken to a woman like this. "Thank you," he said softly. "You're kind." Weeks passed, and Grace became a familiar part of Musa's days. Sometimes she came for teaching supplies, other times just to greet him. Their conversations grew warmer, often spilling into shared lunches she brought from home. Musa would walk her back to the educational institution, and they'd exchange stories, some bittersweet, others full of quiet laughter. Grace had known loss too, a widow raising her daughter alone, familiar with both grief and the slow work of healing. One evening, as the sky blazed gold at sunset, they sat outside the store. "You're a strong man," Grace said softly. Musa shook his head. "I don't feel strong, just grateful that I'm still here." "No," she replied steadily. "You went through the fire and chose kindness. That's true strength." Musa's eyes softened. "I never thought I'd meet someone like you." Grace looked down and smiled faintly. "And I never thought I'd smile like this again." That night, Musa called Ibrahim. "I think I've met someone," he said. Ibrahim chuckled. "Musa, the lover boy." "Not like that," Musa laughed. "She's different. Calm, wise, full of light." "Then don't let that light go," Ibrahim said warmly. "You deserve joy." Musa took his time. Grace's daughter, Rachel, soon began visiting the store, helping arrange books and sitting in the reading corner Musa had made just for her. He treated Rachel as if she were his own child, teaching, encouraging, and listening. One sunny afternoon, Musa invited Grace and Rachel to a quiet garden. Kneeling with a small ring in his hand, he said softly, "I don't have much to give, but I have peace, respect, and love. Will you marry me?" Tears welled in Grace's eyes. "Yes, Musa." "1,000 times yes," he replied. Rachel squealed and hugged them both. Their wedding was small but filled with joy. Friends, neighbors, and even President Traoré attended. After the ceremony, Ibrahim pulled Musa aside. "You look like a man who's found peace." "I have," Musa answered simply. Ibrahim placed a hand on his shoulder. "You found it because you never gave up." Months later, Musa's life was full. A loving wife, a daughter who adored him, a thriving business, and a home filled with laughter. He launched a foundation to help men who had lost everything, opening a shelter that offered training and support for starting small businesses. "I was once on that street," Musa told the first group. "One companion changed my story. Now I want to change yours." Across town, Stella sat alone in a rented room. She had called Musa many times, but he never answered. Once, she went to his store only to find a sign hanging on the door. "Closed this week for family reasons. See you next week." In the window was a photo of Musa and Grace holding hands, Rachel smiling between them. Stella's vision blurred. She had once held everything but threw it away. Now Musa had what she never valued. Slowly she turned and walked down the dusty road, carrying nothing but regret. That evening, Musa sat on the porch with Grace, a warm cup of tea in hand. The night air was still, stars scattered like diamonds across the dark sky. "Do you think your ex-wife regrets it now?" Grace asked quietly. Musa looked up at the stars before answering. "Maybe, but that's not my concern anymore." Grace reached for his hand. "Let's keep writing new chapters," she whispered. He smiled, squeezing her fingers. "Beautiful ones." Musa's journey was no longer just a personal victory. It had become a living testimony. From sleeping on the streets to becoming a respected businessman, loving husband and father, his story gave hope to many. The Musa Foundation had already helped over 50 men rebuild their lives. Some became mechanics, others opened small shops, barber stalls, or food stands. They all shared one thing in common. They believed again because Musa had believed in them first. One afternoon, President Ibrahim Traoré called. "I want you to speak at the National Youth Conference. Your story needs to be heard." When Musa's name was announced, he walked to the stage in a neat grey suit, head held high. The applause was warm but respectful. He adjusted the microphone. "I was a man who lost everything," he began. "Not because I was lazy or foolish, but because I trusted the wrong person." He paused, scanning the audience. "My wife and her lover took everything from me. I was thrown out, mocked, and left with nothing but shame. But one hot afternoon, as I sat hungry on the street, a man I once helped found me. That man didn't pity me or pass me by. He lifted me up and reminded me that broken things can still be made beautiful again." The hall fell silent. Then he smiled. "Today, I hold no anger. The best revenge is peace, joy, and moving forward. No matter how bad it gets, your story can change if you don't give up." The crowd rose to their feet in applause. That night, back in the garden, Rachel played with their puppy as Musa and Grace sat side by side. "Do you still think about her?" Grace asked. "Not with anger," Musa replied. "I just wonder how someone can throw away gold and pick up sand." Grace laughed softly. "She lost a good man, and I gained a queen." Musa smiled at her. Far away, Stella worked in a small restaurant. The man she left Musa for had taken her money and left her in debt. The residence she once took from him was gone. She had even tried to end her own life once, but survived. Sometimes she scrolled through Musa's photos online, the interviews, the smiling family, the joy, and each cut deep. The man she thought would be nothing without her had become more than she could ever imagine without her. A year later, Musa was invited to the presidential palace for dinner. In the garden, Ibrahim handed him a small box. "What's this?" Musa asked. "An award," Ibrahim said with a smile, "for your work with the Musa Foundation." Inside was a golden medal. Musa hugged his companion tightly. "You didn't just change my life," he said. "You gave me the chance to change others too." "That's the power of one hand lifted in kindness," Ibrahim replied. As the evening breeze swept through the garden, Musa looked up at the sky. "Who would have thought," he whispered, "that the man with nothing would one day have more than he ever dreamed?" His eyes shone, not with pain but with joy. The past was gone, the future was bright, and this time no one could take it away. No matter how far you fall, one act of kindness can be the first step back to hope. The choice to rise is always yours.